Hey, hello everyone and welcome to Extreme Graphics Tech. And well, today I'm bringing you a video that is kind of unusual for my channel because I normally don't discuss consoles here, but I thought this will be an interesting topic because on my Spanish channel, this seems to be a video that I have to do every single year. And that is because every time a AAA or important game is launched exclusively on one of the consoles, you can see the fanboys fighting each other about how the other console is not powerful enough. And I'm talking, of course, about the Starfield and the fact that it's being said that the game is going to be launched at 30 FPS, 4K 30 FPS. That's what's being said. Obviously, this has made the PlayStation fanboys attack the Xbox saying you don't have enough power, the game is bad, and so on and so on. But this video is not about that particular point, but it's about the point that always many people make when they make assumptions about frame rate. So many people are questioning why are they making the game run at 4K 30 FPS and they are not making an option for 1440p 60 FPS, because normally people tend to forget or don't think that the CPU has any say in this. It's like if you lower the resolution, you are going to get more frame rate. And while this is true to a certain point, that is not only the only issue. So, for example, without entering into details, it's obvious that the most important components of a console, without talking about memory bandwidth, storage, and so on, okay, simplifying the conversation is CPU and GPU. The CPU has to take care of many functions like EA, geometry, draw distance, other functions like taking counts of what's going on where and so on. Alright, while the GPU is going to be taking care of illumination, the resolution, the graphics, texture, and so on and so on. So each of them need to work in tandem, okay? So, for example, if the CPU is able to send 120 frames per second on a specific game, but the GPU is not able to process it because the game is graphically intensive and it's only able to produce 60 frames per second, it doesn't matter whether the fact that the CPU is sending 120 because 60 of those are going to be discarded because the GPU is not fast enough. However, it can happen the other way around, that the GPU is fast enough, but the logic of the game is so heavy that the CPU is only able to send around 30 FPS. So in the case of Starfield, it's clear from my point of view that the game is going to be CPU limited because of the scope of the game or whatever other reason. So when they decided to limit the game at 30 FPS, it's not because necessarily the game cannot hit 60, but it cannot hit it constantly. Alright, so being the limitation that is 60 FPS because 30 FPS because of the CPU, it's clear that then you have extra GPU power not being used, and at that point, what better use than is to give it more resolution. So if your CPU is hitting a certain ceiling, it doesn't matter if its game is running at 4K, 1440p or 720p, because the game is not going to be running at the 60 FPS because you are expecting, not because of the resolution, but because the CPU cannot do it. So by always stating or requesting that a game that is running at 4K 30 should have a 1440p 60 option, it's not always going to happen because some games are more CPU dependent than others. So if the game is more GPU dependent, yes, you are going to liberate probably around 30 to 40% of GPU power when you go from 4K to 1440p. So yeah, that's a huge gain in the games that are GPU dependent and they can do what they need to do. But in the case of Starfield, it's clear that the CPU is the one limiting factor. And for this reason, I have prepared a small video that I hope shows you exactly what I mean by this and why it's not always lowering the resolution the answers to get a performance boost. This video here to have a speed up for timing reasons. You can see that the game The Last of Us Part 1 at 4K medium is FSR quality is running at 38 FPS. So that is a good performance, and the developer can limit this to 30 FPS in order for the game to keep a steady frame rate. However, now let's see if we can get to those 60 FPS by just lowering the rendering resolution. So we're going for 4K to 1440p. And when we apply the changes to the game and we go back, you can see here that we we are still not close or near those 60 FPS that we want. That means that the developer is doing better by just keeping the game at 4K than just lowering it to 1440p, because it's clear that the CPU is not good enough to get to 60. And we can even lower the graphical settings of the game, even though I should be restarting. But however, even some of the changes applied are not still enough to get us to 60 FPS. So this is a CPU limitation that the GPU is not going to overcome.